What's the futures trading tip of the week? Start
Um,
off there.
Number one, Mondays and Fridays are the biggest days for trading. So on Monday and Fridays, I want you to use your big target. So ES 40, NASDAQ 220 and up, 440 and up. But on the days for you, those of you who don't listen, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, use your short target. Um, a lot of times we get in the battle of should we do the big target or short, but do both. Mondays and Fridays are usually the bookend days of the market. Today was a great example. The market was on fire. Today would have been a great day to use a big target. Tuesdays and Wednesdays, for those of you who have the skill set to do so, I will go for a shorter target, maybe 4 ticks, maybe 10, maybe 16, get in and out. So that way you have your income generating trades on Monday and Fridays, but then you can start to add some percentage gains on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays if you see a move there, and take advantage of the market. So for those of you who are trying to speed up your journey, or you're in a more of an advanced trader and you see a move that's too good to turn down, get in and out of the market on Tuesdays and Wednesdays with a shorter target and live to fight another day.
That's it, man. Whole lot of game. Whole lot of game right there. So, man, we're gonna get into it. We're not gonna play no games because there's a lot going on in the world, and the people need the information. So I want to go to something that is right up there as far as the importance level. If you was in the EYL University class last Thursday, put some fire in the chat.
Yeah.
I know you had spoke about company, right?
Yeah.
And then there was some news that broke on that. So talk about that. We're gonna give them some window into
give
EY
it-
University.
Just give it away. Yeah. So one of the things we've been studying obviously is the AI revolution. And we said that the AI revolution will be monetized. And so we've been breaking this down like to a fundamental matter where it's like, yeah, we know the big players, we know the Nvidias of the world, and we know the Broadcoms of the world, and we know the AMDs, but those systems don't work without some of these precursors. And so we've been doing very granular. We started with the memory sector when we were talking about Micron, and we talked about Western Digital, and we talked about Seagate, and we talked about connectivity when we were talking about Broadcom. And we started to look even deeper, right? And I started thinking about how we can treat AI and really artificial intelligence from a power standpoint, but also from a connectivity standpoint, like a human body, right? So if I'm looking at what company is the heart of this, right? That would be easy. You would tell me Nvidia. Well, if I looked at Broadcom as like the connectivity, that would be like the veins and the arteries of this, right? But in order for the heart to work, it needs to have blood flow, right? And it needs to have valves. And so I started to look like what would be the valves. And then I found a company called Fabrinet, right? And so if you think about it, Fabrinet is almost like that valve that allows the connectivity to run faster. I'm like, all right, this is great. And so we talked about that. We actually talked about that in Stock Club a couple of weeks ago. And I told people to do the research on it. Then we dug a little bit deeper. And I was like, okay, we've got that. Let's go back to this memory thing. Because as I'm watching Nvidia pull back and I'm watching Broadcom go down and I'm watching Microsoft, I'm noticing that this memory sector is not moving at the same lane. And so obviously we see Micron appreciate, and that even pulled back, but it was up over 200%. But Western Digital was up 260%. People kept putting in the chat, like, yo, this company, Troy, this company. I'm like, okay, great. So I'm studying Western Digital, and part of the research, I see they have a spinoff. I said, there's a spinoff here, and it's called SanDisk. And I'm like, I've heard this name before, especially if you're in recording and you're doing photos or you're in music and you're using a hard drive, right? You know SanDisk. And then I look in February, they actually spun off and started to be publicly traded. And then I started looking at the chart. I'm like, oh man, this is something. And then I started to understand this, okay? Western Digital said, okay, we have the hard drive, right? And we have the flash drive. These are two different businesses that we can actually reap the benefits from. And so that actually went public in February. It's been going crazy. But I started to think about why. Why is this chart moving this way? Start studying even more. And then you realize, yes, memory is important. But Samsung said something 2 weeks ago that was even more important to hear. They said, we don't even have enough to fulfill the orders. And so if we don't have enough, it goes back to this. How do we get this going at the immediate time. Like, we need this. We can talk about energy and we need it immediately, right? We don't have time. We don't have 10 years to wait. How do we get it immediate? So now flash becomes a thing. SSD becomes a thing. And who's leading that? SanDisk.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you look at SanDisk, it was great. I was talking about this in Dubai. We were having dinners and I was talking about this. Even some of the people in the tech world didn't even know it was publicly traded. I'm like, no, there's something here, there's something here. Thursday in the class, we went over it. I said, these are the reasons why, breaking it down. Friday, we saw it tick up. I said, oh, this is perfect. Before it closed, I got to get into this position. Today, we watched SanDisk open up at 220.
Mm-hmm.
After the bell, huge announcement. Guess what just got added to the S&P 500?
This amazing company has been doing well even before they went public.
So now this company is now part of the S&P 500, which you know means that could now be added inside index funds and added to the investment portfolios of a bunch of people. But a company that just went public, technically went public in February of this year, but it's part of this AI ecosystem. Like, the pulls and like we always talk about the levers and the pulleys and the shovels. These are those companies now. And so that body analogy, when I was talking about it after the class, I'm like, I should really just draw a diagram for it. And so I started thinking, all right, well, here's the heart, here are the veins, here are the valves. Who's going to be the brain of this? You could say that, you know, AMD or Nvidia could be brain and heart. Start to think of it in terms of the body and how it runs and how it functions. And if anything goes wrong, right, then it won't function at its highest form. These are the type of things we got to look for, which is why we thought Celestica early in the year would be great, and it's performed outstanding, which is why we thought memory, like if we have a brain, we need memory, right? Like, your brain is broken down into different components, and we know memory is part of that. You have to start thinking in that way. So these companies that are going to be essential and crucial if AI development is going to continue and flourish, which with all signs points that it will, you got to take advantage of them. So shout out to everybody that was in class and took advantage of it. I know we're probably up like 70% in like 24 hours or 48 hours. These are the type of those moments when you see opportunities, especially when we pulled back last week. It got up to 289. I saw it down at 186. Execute.